Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Hello, everyone. Joining us here at both sides of the conversation live. Welcome to Exploitation through sports and volunteering in our community. Thank you for joining us today. We gather in this virtual space here every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am Simone Davis, your co-host for both sides of the conversation. And now I'm going to introduce you to our founder, our host, John Henry.
Welcome, everybody, to Both Sides of the Conversation. Executive Director John Henry. Happy to be here today to have this powerful conversation about exploitation through sports and volunteering. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and just have a couple of community announcements that we want to get out to our community before we start today's conversation. First, for all of our people that live in the East Bay and the Contra Costa area, there is a free dental clinic that's going on for people who are uninsured and want to get free dental care through the St. Vincent Family Resource System. Center. That should be an upcoming event. I'll put the details and information up, and the chat's coming up. So anybody that want to get some free dental assistance in the East Bay, they will be doing that for all residents of Contra Costa County. Also, with that being said, I want to give a huge shout out of today. Some important news that's going to really impact our community. The UC system has broken the barrier, and they have taken the lead to make change in this country. We know here in the West Coast, a lot of things starts here and it move out east. But yesterday, UC has officially dropped the SAT and ACT scores from its admission process for scholarships. I think that is powerful. You guys, all that know me, know I'm about education. I am an employee of the UC system. We have a new president. So I just think this is a huge, as many times these SAT and ACT scores has prohibit our young people from the community to get into the college. This barrier was broken down for students who want to go to college, but test scores have prevented them from attending the UC system. I think that is huge. The graduating class of 2021 will be the first generation of students who are able to attend college without an SAT or ACT score. That is Black achievement. College, here we come. That's all we can say. Our young people should be encouraged because that was a big barrier for a lot of the people in our community getting applications to go to college. Congratulations to all the graduates for 2021. We learned through this pandemic, what don't kill you makes you stronger. And they say you're strong, and the students are. So that's just a powerful thing that we need to hear. I know this weekend we had a violent weekend in San Francisco and across the Bay Area. So we want to continue to unify community. This gun violence is taking a toll on our community. And with that being said, on June 6th, we're going to have a conversation addressing community violence. We need panelists to have a tough discussion about violence in our community. So we're looking for some of the dads and some of the mothers of the community and some of the community organizations to reach out to us. Go to our website, Both Sides of the Conversation, sign up. We would like to have a real community conversation when it comes to violence in our community. And I think that's an important conversation that's needed, and we will have that here at Both Sides of the Conversation. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Simone so that we could go ahead and start introducing today's guest as we start today's conversation.
Thank you, John Harry. So our first guest I would like to introduce is Terrence Stewart. He is the Alliances for Safety and Justice Manager of Membership and Engagement of the Time Done Project. He advocates for policy changes that create barriers to the road to redemption for people with past conviction. In his first year of director, Terrence led the change to automate the expungement process.
Yeah, right on. Thank you for having me. And what this is all about is about leadership development and getting people to be in control of their own lives. Yeah.
Thank you. Our next guest that I would like to introduce is Eric Compton. Eric is a higher education professional with a passion for all sports. He is a two-tour Army combat veteran, originally from the Bay Area. Eric is the host of the Sports Business podcast, where he talks about sports, tech, pop culture, and current events. When the mics go live, you never know what's going to happen.
Hey, thanks again for having me on here, and it's good to see a lot of people on this panel, and looking forward to see what we got to bring to the table and talk about a lot of good things that are on slate for today. So thanks again.
Thank you. And our next guest is Lorian Russell. Lorian Russell is a sports coach, member of the San Francisco community, and founder of Serving Families Citywide. He works with youth and adults in areas of sports, employment, homelessness, housing, and the justice involvement system, helping them to become successful and lead a meaningful life.
Thank you for having me. Definitely appreciate being here. Looking forward to the conversation today. Some very good people. But once again, thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And our next guest is Nate Ford. Nate Ford is a native San Francisco who grew up in Fillmore. He is the athletic director of San Francisco Boys and Girls Club, Ernest Ingold Clubhouse. For 18 years, Nate managed all sports in the Boys and Girls Club and coached hundreds of students in the San Francisco area. One of Nate's best accomplishments was establishing the Pee Wee basketball program and the San Francisco Rebels basketball program.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. Great space. Have some good conversation. Thanks, John and staff, for inviting me.
Thank you. And the next guest that I would like to introduce is AJ.
How you doing? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, AJ.
Oh, okay.
Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself there.
Okay, my name AJ, Antoine Justin. That's AJ. I'm just a native of San Francisco, man. I've been working with Jack since I was since basically like 10, 11 years old. You know, he worked with me throughout juvenile hall, and I spoke with him. I go to juvenile hall and speak with the kids when I can. And I'm on my third year at SAE Expressions College, so I'm basically working through the music part. You know, I believe music plays a big role and influence in our kids, because I know it definitely influenced me. So I'm hopefully looking forward to, make my changes in the community that I help mess up, because I'm born and raised in San Francisco. So I'm just looking to help them out, teach them music or whatnot, show them another way, just do what I can. And nice meeting everybody. Thank you for having me too.
Thank you so much. And our next guest that I would like to introduce is Walter Hughes.
Can you hear me? Thank you for having me on. Again, it's a blessing to be here this Sunday with so many beautiful people, San Francisco natives as well. They call us unicorns nowadays, but I'm a San Francisco native, co-founder of Serving Family Citywide with Lorraine Russell. I'm a father of 5. So I'm just excited to be here and partake in this wonderful, Sunday soul food. Thank you for having me.
That's what's up. Thank you all for coming and joining us today. Sorry for the little choppiness. As you guys know, here in America, our Wi-Fi and our connectivity is not on the top par. So you might hear a little bit of choppiness, a little bit of static. I know some people are mobilizing, trying to get to their location. We just appreciate them being in this space and being on time. So today we're talking about the exploitation through sports. Also, we're going to be talking about volunteering in the community. Before we get started, and I asked Simone to read the first question to everybody, I just want to give some facts out there to our families, to our mothers, to the community. For some people who might not know what's going on, I know we all strive to get our kids into sports and we hope the best for them, but there's some true facts and some real information that I think parents and family and community also need to know. That's very important when they putting their kids into sports, and how we are promoting our young people when they go into sports and giving them real factual numbers and outcomes of what's happening. So I want to start off with the first fact about the NCAA. It has 460,000 athletes in CAA. That goes from football to track to basketball, and a lot of other sports that people don't even really talk about, swimming, a number of sports, but they have quite a lot of athletes, and these organizations make billions and billions of dollars off these athletes. And then the other fact is 2% of the NCAA students, athletes, make it to the pros, meaning 98% of the NCAA students, athletes will have to find another means of creating income outside of playing sports. That is huge, because a lot of us, we hone our kids in, we're trying to get them ready. They have the vision and the dream to go to the pros, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. And it's a high percentage of youth that don't make it, some to injury and some just not being able to get into it, because it's a small percent that make it to the pros. So I think this conversation is going to be very important, because I know intentionally want to make sure that our young athletes also understand what's going on and why it's important to have this conversation for community and for our student athletes, because there is a shift and a change that needs to happen. And I definitely think that some of these colleges should be trying to unionize for these athletes so that they can make some type of money. And I don't think just a scholarship is enough. And I know a lot of people on the other side of this to argue and say they're getting a free ride of the scholarship. But even if it's $120,000 scholarship or up to $200,000, the billions of dollars that these institutions are making is a small percentage of what a scholarship withholds. So definitely we want to hone in on that as well. And then the final fact, for men's basketball, there is a 1.2%, and for women's basketball, it is a 0.8% chance of men basketball players and women basketball players to go pro. Another, topic that we got to talk about, because I know women's basketball is growing in America. They have their pros. There's still a big pay gap. I know people, the headlines over the news saying Draymond Green and different professional athletes talking about the big pay gap when it comes to women's basketball. And then, for the men's basketball, that small percentage that actually make it to the pros. These is real day scenarios. And I think this conversation is important, because we need to know as community, how do we leverage our young people? How do we let them know how to come together? Because I think it's time this conversation has happened. And I think we haven't moved it forward as a community, but I think we really need to have this conversation today. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, Simone, if you want to go ahead and ask the first question, and then we're going to go in and jump in and let people answer it. Whoever want to go first to jump on it, you can go ahead and jump on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hearing you list these facts. So my question with stats and statistics like that, is it even worth is it even worth playing college sports? Is college sports worth it?
Can I jump on this one? Can I jump on this one?
Yeah, go ahead. You go first.
Absolutely. It is definitely worth it. Being that I did play college sports, it is a business. It takes a toll on your body, but it's worth it. All the work that you put in, you get to travel, you get to meet different people, you go to school. It's definitely not for free because what you're putting your body through. Um, but just if that's your passion and basketball was mine, I enjoyed every minute of college ball. Got to play against some guys that made it to the NBA. It gave me a chance to see how good I really was. Um, but yeah, absolutely, it's definitely worth playing. And if that's a dream and aspiration, I definitely push kids to try to shoot for it. But there's a lot of work and dedication that has to go into it to get to that level. And I think something that people don't talk about, you have to be good to play college ball. Not just is not something that everybody gets to do. Is definitely a privilege to be able to play at a high level. And the higher up you go in age, as John mentioned, the smaller the percentage gets as people that get to make it to the next level. So there's a certain kind of dedication you have to have. It is something that you have to put yourself around the right people. And you also have to have the skill and talent to play at the next level. It's not as easy as people may think, but all the work and dedication is definitely worth playing college sports. Absolutely.
All
I
right.
I
Great.
I kind of second that because I totally agree with what he's saying, and that's a good topic, man. Because I was just talking to my son about that the other day because I had a thing with my son where he seen his cousin playing sports and wanted to play. Not only is it expensive, but you have to really be dedicated to it, and I think he figured that out. But it's crazy how the rap game and the rap industry, the music industry, and the sports industry is similar. It's the stats may I'm not sure. I can't give you an exact stat, but I'm pretty sure they are exactly the same. If not even a bigger percentage of people not making it in the music industry. But you're only as good as your team. You're only as good as your motivation, your dedication, the people behind you, and you gotta really want it, man. Like, and I believe that's in anything. You have to really want it. And if you want to be in sports and stuff and music, to me, from what I see now, working on my bachelor's degree in music, you got to work twice as 3 times as hard. You got to push. You must stand out from that 98% of people who are standing there with you. You have to. You're right. You have to be dedicated. You have to be good. You have to push. You got to really know what you want. And at the end of the day, I really believe that as parents, we have to push our kids to our education because nothing is guaranteed. And it is a possibility that they may not make it in the sports or the industry or whatever, so you have to have something to fall back on. And I think that comes as us as parents, as community people, volunteers, mentors, big brothers, sisters, whatever. I think it all kind of falls on us, but it definitely requires you to work 3 times as hard as the average person if you're really trying to get there. Definitely.
Wow, powerful stuff. Anybody else want to jump in there on that? Eric or Nate or Terrence?
Yeah, I can jump in real quick.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
E.
Yeah, so I think if I'm not mistaken, 2 Chainz got an album that says "Rapper Go to the League," right? And it kind of goes hand in hand with what AJ and Mr. Russell was just saying. You got to work twice as hard just to get into not even just D1, any type of college, whether that's JUCO, NIAA, just to even get an athletic scholarship. And whether you want to take that to the next level and make it to the pros, you got to put that much work into there. But however, it's also a good time to network if you're a college student to kind of venture out into what you're majoring in and kind of seeing, once when you get into college, whether the fields are out there, because like you said, those numbers that you said are staggering. Especially when we're just talking about basketball. We're not even talking about football, baseball, swimming, and all that other stuff where there's not even necessarily a pro league that's even afforded to them. So for the student athletes that are even on these full ride scholarships, they got to start asking those questions. what next? What's next for them after they do get their bachelor's degree or they do finish their 4 years in college? What's the next move for them? And I think that it's something that we need to start instilling into our younger generation, that we need to be pumping up and down for them when they are into college and they do get these athletic scholarships. But we also have to let them know that, hey, there's other things outside of sports, because not necessarily you're going to be able to make it into the pros. So I think once we start instilling that and let them know that, hey, you do got a chance and you do also have this athletic scholarship that you're afforded to, you got to kind of go hand in hand and start thinking of a backup plan to the backup plan.
Wow, that's deep, deep. Brother Nate, you want to jump in there? I know you're a basketball coach. What's your perspective, brother?
No, totally. I'm, I agree with Lorian. Definitely, Lorian was definitely one of the San Francisco greats. He's always shortchanges himself, but for you to get a scholarship, especially coming out of San Francisco, is really something huge. And Lorian's been the one that I saw him when he was younger, and even though he transferred from my school with the Sacred Heart, but Lorian was a special player, and he put in work, and he's spot on with Eric. On the other hand, is the same way that I'm thinking towards when I run my program, about having kids thinking about after that ball stopped bouncing, or after that ball stop flying to the air, or your legs start wearing down, thinking about life after that. A lot of people are misinformed that scholarships are 4-year scholarships. Scholarships are not for the years. Ryan can tell you that they're year-to-year scholarships, and you have to uphold your end of the bargain for your scholarship to be renewed for the following year. So that's a misconception. That's why I cringe when people always say, "Oh, I'm getting a 4-year scholarship." No, you're not. You gotta uphold your end of the bargain. Take care of your business in the classroom. But I've always told kids to, use them like they use you. They're using you for your athletic prowess. Now go in there and use them and get a degree out of it at the end of the day.
Man, that's powerful. You guys, sorry for the breakup. I know Nate broke up a little bit, but he's in motion. But I think so. So one of my concerns is, yes, I think it's worth it. Anytime a child. Oh, Terrence, go ahead, Terrence. Sorry, I missed you up there. I didn't know you was going. Go ahead, T. I don't want to cut
It's
you off.
all good. I'm not really athletic, so it's always kind of interesting as a parent. You know what I mean? Like, how do I, get my child involved and all that stuff? But what I seen the other day on the Breakfast Club with Master P was on there with his two sons that are like one's going to college and then like to play sports, but then like also he's going to college to be I think a mechanical engineer, and like, as a parent, I think like just as dedicated as you are to making your child an athlete, you probably have to make them be dedicated that much to being a scholar as well, and I think it's prep. That's going to have to happen where you kind of like, prioritize both on the same scale. And then, but like for as far as like the hood growing up, sports has always been like a venue to like not get in trouble or to like, to get away from stuff, and sports and all that stuff. And like a lot of times, like, brothers ain't got like fathers like that, so like, I encourage like, some type of way for children to get mentorship regardless, and I find sports is like always a way that people find it, so like I'm all for it, but at the same time, like I think like, we just have to like have a real strong conversation about priorities. And then also like, like you said, 1% people go to actually make it to the to professional playing professionally. So like, but like it's a lot of money in sports, like you said, like it's coaches and people do the kinesiology and people cut the grass and it's a whole lot of money. People who do the budget for how many hot dogs you sell at a game and everything. So like, it's a lot of money and there's a lot of different ways that you can actually like still be involved with the sports and not actually be an athlete. So it's like, make sure you also expand it that like it's all kinds of ways that you could get into sports besides just playing.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. Brother Walter, did you want to jump in there and say something before I...
Oh yeah, I always got I always got some words to share, good brother. You know, I would say that I think the original question is what was the original question? Is athletics in athletic scholarships, is it important or is it worth it? I believe it is, because in sports, I play football, and in sports you learn a lot. To be a student athlete, you know, it's harder than just being an athlete or just being a student. And so you really have to learn how to grind, how to prioritize, how to time manage, how to work hard. And in life, you need those skills. And you know what's crazy is I looked into it because I have the 5 kids, and I think it's a single digit. Less than 2% of all high school athletes make it to competitive, you know, NCAA sports. You know, and we need, I think, yes, getting this athletic scholarship, is it worth it? You're going to pay a price. It's not free because you got to work hard. Your body's going to pay for it. My younger brother, you know, went from City College to K-State University and had a full ACL tear, you know, in his first game on a live national telebroadcast game. And so, you know, he had to work even harder to work through that. So he paid the price. But, you know, we have to, it's twofold to me. Yes, it's worth it to go and get the scholarship and to go and get the education and experience, like Lorraine touched on, the travel. But we do, like the good brother said, we do have to talk about other alternatives for our children, because, you know, the reality of them moving on, you know, to play professionally is slim to none. And so really having a plan for our kids when they get there. I see it too many times. Too many of our kids are going to these schools and they're getting a degree in sociology, right? They're getting a degree that they're not really going to use. It's not really a valuable degree. And so setting our children up for success, to go there, work hard, you know, somewhat get this free degree, but to position them to actually strive in life. And I love what Nate said. You know, they're going to use you. You got to use them. You know, you're going to blow out your knees, get your degrees, right? And a degree doesn't equal success, right? I'm not bragging, no boasting, but I got a GED and I earn more than people that have master's degrees. So we got to talk about success and what that looks like. Too many of our kids want to make it in just sports or in just music, where a low single digit of people make it. And that's why we have a crab mentality, because if it's slim to none chances for me to make it, I can't help you. I can't lift you up. I have to pull you down because you're gonna thrive and take one of my spots. We have to get our kids to see that we don't live in a world that's full of lack. We live in a world that's literally full of abundance. And so, like, teaching my children that, like, when you have a world full of abundance, there's abundance of opportunity. So if you take abundance minus abundance, you're still left with abundance, right? I could get mine and you could get yours. And so I think it's a multi-level, you know, or multifaceted question. I'm sure you're probably gonna touch on it with some other things that we talk about, but I agree. Yes, go get your degree, go have the experience and learn the life skills that you need while you're in college doing that. But at the same time, positioning yourself when you're in college, like the brother said, to network, to grow, and to expand and you know, and lift people up with you. You know what I mean? Because it's not that many people, one, getting a scholarship, and two, making it professionally. So that's just my take on that.
Can I hop in on the end of that?
Go ahead.
You know, I think the biggest thing, you know, and I said before, first of all, I agree with everything everybody said. There's so many levels to it. You know, and you know, just working with Nate, he's big on academics. I work in education. Like, even if you're good in sports, you got to be able to get accepted into the college. So let's just start there. Like, if you don't have the grades, you're not getting accepted into the college, you don't have no scholarship. Also, you definitely have to be good. Like, just because you play sports, or, you know, use basketball as example, you may have 1 or 2 games where you had 20 points. Can you do that consistently? Are you consistently a 25 point, 10 rebound person? That's going to stand out. Not somebody who scores 20 2 times in a season, you know? And I think sometimes parents kind of get lost in the focus, like, this is how you pay for college. You know, college is not for everybody. Walter, you touched on it. You know, I tell kids all the time, you can be a firefighter, start off making damn near 100,000 in San Francisco. That's a great career. You work 8 days a month, 24-hour shifts. Yeah, there's some risk to the job, but you can do that. You can be an electrician, you can be a plumber. You leave college with, you don't go to college, but you have no debt. You go to college and you're not there on a scholarship, you leaving with some debt, like some debt that you ain't probably gonna be able to pay off in your lifetime. So, you know, that's the one benefit of sports. You don't leave college with debt. because you got that full ride, but the full ride is only in 5 sports. So you got football, you got men and women's basketball, you have tennis, you have volleyball, and just one more. Women gymnastics. There's no full scholarship in baseball or softball. There's no full scholarship in soccer. They have to, plug and place the money that they give for their sport with the players. Now, some players may get more of the scholarship money than others, but it's only 5 sports that have a full ride. So, that's another thing with when coming to talking about college sports. Not every sport is fully funded to where you get that money. Now, college football is on a different level because you're talking about billions. Men and women's basketball is on another level because you're talking about billions. And when you think about tennis, and volleyball and gymnastics, you're talking about things that people go to Olympics for. So that's kind of like their farm system to get people ready to go to that level. But that's just something to keep in mind where, it's just not, there's not as many scholarships because, colleges don't emphasize full rides through all sports. So you only have a certain percentage with that. So that's also another reason why it's so hard to get a college scholarship, because there's only so much money that they're giving to certain players, and you have to be good. I can't stress that enough. You have to be at another level than everybody else to play college sports. You have to be at that level. Like when I was in high school, I was getting up at 5:30 every morning. I was at the beach every morning before school getting my workout in. And then I go to school. After school, I'm getting up shots. I'm in the weight room. Like I was a maniac about it. And you have to be manic. I know people look at somebody like Kobe Bryant and all the work that he put in. That's how you have to be. Like you have to breathe, eat, and sleep that sport, whatever it is. But you also have to have that talent. I'm not a firm believer like if I put in the same amount of work, like I can be Kobe Bryant. Nah, that's not going. I can put in the same amount of work as Kobe Bryant. I will never be Kobe Bryant. That just wasn't my path. And I think sometimes people have to accept that you can be a hard worker in a certain sport, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're good enough to play at that next level.
Wow, that's powerful. But this is both sides of the conversation, so I'm gonna play both sides of it because this is important. I need community to hear this too, and I think Nate brought up a good point that some of those scholarships are year to year, and I think you brought up a good point too about the different jobs and opportunities. And the reason why we're having this conversation is because again, some of those athletes that do have it genetically has the makeup. They're really good, okay, and they go on these year to year contracts. Then they get hurt, right? They blow their knee out. Maybe it's a career-ending uh, injury. They lose that 1 year contract, and now they don't even have the ability to go after another year of the contract, right? But the college made all of this money off of them, right? And then again, a lot of these athletes, they don't have the commitment sometimes, not all of them, but a lot of them from the coaches that I've talked to and some of the athletes that I've talked to, they don't have that educational bandwidth, right? And that's why sometimes they do take the easy classes of sociology, or not really easy. I shouldn't say easy, but classes that's less attentive, not so involved, right? Now, this young man or young lady who goes to college, they injure themselves and they don't have access. They lose that scholarship. They don't have the bandwidth to go through the academic process. Then what happened? Right? They not in the classes. They're back in the community, and a lot of them they don't get the starts. One of the biggest complaints that these athletes have is sometimes, I went through the community college process, or I went through the D1 process. I did all of this again because of the degree that I chose to be able to play sports, right? Because technically it's very hard, and it's a very small amount of kids that's in college going to be an engineer, a doctor. That number is very small. So when you have this social work degree, or one of these other degrees that typically they go after, they can't even find employment. You know what I'm saying? And that sucks. And again, like you said, yeah, being a fireman is a risk, but also playing college athletes is a risk as well, right? And how do we motivate and really inspire the community to understand that part? Because it's too many times that these athletes go through 4 years of college and they don't get anything. They end up losing out, right? And it affects the community because one, they go through mental health, they go through depression. Maybe that athlete was on the top of his game, right? Now he's hurt, out of college, or maybe went through the 4 years, really didn't get the proper education that he needs to be successful. And it leads to like a lot of these athletes becoming, in the streets or doing things, mental health, because they didn't make it. They feel like they're a failure, all type of stuff. But I want to reshift the thinking. And if we get our young people to really hone in about education and trying to find these different careers that really impact the community, how much power will we have as a community if we had our athletes or our young people really going after being a business owner or being in the business or getting a degree in law, something that really could impact? Because you see, we got a lot of athletes. Just think that was just 460,000. Just those athletes in the four sports, majority of them are African American. We're missing that population in our workforce, in our cities and our counties. Now, if we educate and energize those people, into business and other opportunities, how much more would those 460,000 people be able to impact our communities? So that's just something that I wanted to really hone in out there, because a lot of times, that happened, man. And these colleges, and I know like you said, there's only 5 major sports that's funded. But let me tell you, I was looking at some of the stuff yesterday. Football alone, I think it's like $23 billion a football season that these colleges are making, right? And the argument I always hear from people is, well, John, these kids are going to college and they getting a full ride scholarship, but now, like you guys broke it down, they're really not getting a full ride, right? So if that athlete's only going for 1 year, don't make it to 2 years. And I should have looked up that number, but now I'm gonna do that and bring it back to the community and see, what is the gap amount of kids that do get the full ride, right? And see what that number looks like compared to just the year-to-year contracts. But again, $23 billion industry, okay, and we got all these athletes. And this is where they get exploited. And this is the slave mentality that we got to break. And this is why I'm really for the young athletes to unionize, to be able to monetize, and things of that nature. Because again, these institutions are making a lot of money. So not only should they get the scholarship part, but definitely the risk that they're putting on when it comes to being hurt or not being able to fulfill that contract or get that second year. Man, being able to get paid stipends. I hear a lot of athletes complain about they're hungry. They getting full ride scholarship. They like, John, it's no food. So you hear about these different college athletes going to grocery stores, stealing just to feed themselves, right? But if we pay them or monetize them with a stipend or something and they unionize, to have a better lifestyle as a college athlete, I think would be definitely impactful for those athletes. But just wanted to throw that out there before we move along to the next question, because I hear it. I've talked to some of the athletes, and that's a big thing. And I think a lot of parents and a lot of communities should understand that these kids, they get a full ride scholarship or they get a scholarship to go. A lot of these kids are starving on our campuses. They don't have the proper food. They don't have the proper money to be able to take care of themselves while they're on the college campus. And, that's something that we also need to throw in that pot when it comes to looking at our kids and our athletes. But anybody else want to say anything before I jumped on that?
Try not to dominate the conversation because I played college sports and it's kind of like some triggering stuff that be coming up that you say and so I just make this real quick. Speaking of being hungry, we have 140 a week to eat on campus. And it was crazy because we changed our workout schedule. I think my sophomore year, to where we worked out more. So of course, the more you work out, the more you're going to be hungry. So myself and maybe like 3 other players, we were all science majors. So we put together this bomb presentation on how much fuel we need to put into the body, the type of foods we need to eat. So a whole nutrition thing. But we needed more money per week in order to achieve, athletic excellence through eating properly and the right foods we put in our body. So with that 140 a week, all we needed was an increase of $20 for 12 scholarship players. School said no, we can't do it, we don't have the money. And I'm just like, we just went to the tournament the year before. My jersey was sold out. We had action figures. I didn't even get an action figure because it's sold out. We were on video games. And my freshman year at USF, I played at USF. My freshman year at USF, alumni donated $100 million to the school. And you tell me you can't give 12 dudes $20 extra a week to eat. So, that's the kind of exploitation that does happen in college sports. I feel like it's a little bit better now because kids can get stipends to live off campus and all that. Of course, I was in college 20 years ago, but that's the kind of stuff that happens and that athletes kind of go through. So it is that side that's very ugly that I think a lot of people just don't pay attention to, or even doing your laundry. How you gonna do your laundry in college? Like, you gotta get in good with the equipment guy so you can wash your clothes, get into the sports gym to wash your clothes, or else you paying on the washing machines just like every other college student. And if you don't have no money, how you supposed to even wash your clothes? So, definitely, John, that's a great point, and it just reminded me of a few things that I definitely want to share with the group.
No, that's definitely powerful stuff. I mean, and this is the conversation. This is why I wanted to have it, because we have a lot of parents out there watching. We have a lot of coaches, and they need to hear this. Some of these, organizations, some of these colleges, they need to hear this because, again, like you said, I'm just hearing you saying 140 a week. I'm like, man, you doing good, brother. I can't even make it off 140 a week, and I'm not even exercising like that. So I can imagine if y'all have 2-a-days or something like that. You eat all that stuff, you burn it off, and then you got to eat it, do it again. That could definitely start being costly. And like you said, just, washing little intricate things that we don't really think about that really impact our college athletes. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation. So community kind of understands what's going on so that we could better advocate. When these votes go around, I know the NCAA had a big thing where they was asking people about it. I know they got the inside way that they go about it, but I mean, that's some way that community, we need to hear this. And then to our people that's out in the community, like, these are the things that we need to be thinking about as coaches when we educating our parents when they sending their kids to college, things to look out for so that our kids are not on the campus stealing or committing crimes or doing stuff to really just feed themselves and survive. But like you said, what's 120, I mean, $100 to $200 a month? What about inflation? Every year, the cost of everything goes up. Is that part of the scholarship? And then, really looking at the scholarships and making sure that stuff that we need for our young people or for our athletes are actually put in those contracts when they're writing them up, to really make sure that they get the best for them is definitely something that we want to continue to hone in. But anybody else, did anybody want to say anything before we move to the next question?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
just quick. The thing about it is, I think we need to start looking at the college, the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association. It is a for-profit business. I think Lorraine can attest to that as well. Maybe we need to start looking at, President Mark Emmert and whatnot, and all these other university presidents, and start looking at possibly even disbanding from the NCAA with all of these different stipulations. I know there's different stipulations for scholarships where if you're talking to a recruit, you can give them poppy seeded bagels, or you can give cream cheese bagels, but you can't put peanut butter on them. Like, there's all these different type of stipulations just on the recruiting path, just to get these student athletes. And like Lorraine attests to, you're talking about $140, but what Nick Saban just made $8 million as a state employee. It's just a little crazy. And I think as a macro look, we need to start looking at the universities that are, pumping so much money into these college athletes, but yet a lot of these people aren't getting anything in return. And like you said, a student blows out their knee, they don't have anything to kind of look back to. But, there's only the top echelon players that are legitimately having the chance to go to the pros that may be able to have that afforded opportunity to take an insurance policy out if something happens to them. So I look at the NCAA as something that needs to possibly be held a little bit more accountable, and that can't happen. I know Northwestern in Chicago, they were trying to be unionized, but you have a lot of these politicians that aren't for that either as well. So until those things start tearing down, I think we're still going to be in the same rhetoric. So until we're able to start unionizing, like John said, it's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Most definitely. AJ, you want to jump in there and say something?
Yeah, I just, from being a parent and my kids involved in sports as well as music and whatnot, and just and being a student, a current college student right now, you know what I'm saying? It is hard. It's hard. Like, it's not just, I wasn't just, born knowing how to do that. Like, I think that if I would have went to college at a younger age, I probably wouldn't have made it. I think the only reason I'm making it now is because I'm older. I'm 43 years old, and I understand how to prioritize everything. Like brother was saying earlier, and I believe it starts with us as parents, because having kids and seeing all the things that I'm instilling in my kids and showing them and telling them and teaching them and everything, it shows me what I wasn't taught. I realize now that God, I wasn't really shown anything as a youngster, and I'm happy that thank God I made it, to the point where I'm have a sound mind, because a lot of my friends, they not like this, but I believe it takes a village to not only raise a kid, but to also get them through college. Because just like my goddaughter, and my stepdaughter, it's like, they were in college and they needed help. We had to come together to help them, man. I was giving her what I think it was $70 a week just for transportation, and eating and giving her lunch and things like that. It's like it takes a community, it takes a village, man, and it takes a lot of knowledge, a lot of help and support to keep these kids right and to keep them right and to make them understand what it is that they're doing and what they're gonna have to go through. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot, man. It takes a lot of us. So as parents, I think it starts there, definitely. And parents, motivators, community activists, big brothers, big sisters, it starts with us.
No, dope, powerful stuff. Got Nate back. Yeah, so the next question is up there. Simone, if you want to go ahead and read the question. I know we kind of touched on it. Actually, you can read the two because they kind of tied in and just really get everybody thinking again about it, and then we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we invest in stuff other than sports, like law enforcement, education, business, because the chances are so low going pro? And I know we did touch on that a bit, but I just kind of want to expand on it.
Yeah, and then the other thing is the impact to the nation economy, and rather than sports, getting people to work in other areas to help impact our communities, especially in the Black and Brown community. We are getting hit the hardest when it comes to the economical power. Should we be shifting some of our energy more into the business world so that we really can help impact our community? I think that's something that we also need to really hone in on. But anybody could go start. Terrence, you want to start this one off?
Well, I never. I mean, sports was never really a top thing for me. I'm just being honest. So like I wish I did play sports. And I think because I probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble. But as far as the question, I can't even see it no more. But yeah, should we invest? Yeah, I think like we should invest in everything, because I went to college, right? And I got my master's, right? And when I got my master's, they gave this speech about we're going to be the next future big shots, and we're going to make a difference in this world and all this stuff. And I counted 7 Black people who graduated out of like out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Do I think that I think we do need to like as a whole, we got to start focusing on law, education, and business, period. I think within sports is room for law, education, and business as well. Like all of that is in there. So it's way more than just being an athlete. You can still do sports and still do law. You can still do sports and do education. You can still do sports and do business. It's there for you, and but I do think we need to start being more into education, because from my previous experiences, I know we're gonna talk about volunteering later, but the reason why a lot of people don't like education is because people like us ain't teaching it, and and it's set up for us to fail, and I just think for that to happen, we're going to need some more people to graduate from these institutes so that like we do have more lawyers because the prison industrial complex is eating us up. We do need more teachers because the miseducation of what they're doing to us got us feeling low self-esteem and thinking people are inferior to us. We do need more businesses, you know what I mean? Because like as a college student, I would go into a parking lot and none of the businesses and none of the parking lots around my college was black owned. So like, yes, we absolutely, we as a whole, whether it's athletes and people period, need to get way more involved in all of this stuff, because like we got a lot of brothers on here, but the statistics for us is horrible, bro. You know what I mean? So like, I just think it's like to the time now that like each one teach one. And like, if sports is their thing and they got it, let's put them in sports. If they argue and always want to debate, let's put them in debate and being lawyers. Let's put them into the pipeline into what they do good, and like and push them there and get them there and become that village that brother AJ was talking about.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. I think we got to do that, but that's focusing in and holding in our youth, and that's why it's big for Lorian and Nate and E. Like these coaches too, right? Really helping our kids when they come through our programs and when they're in high school and we coaching them to really watch what else are they good at, so that we can really help navigate them. So when they do go to college, we can say, hey, I really see you doing X, Y, and Z, and give them that motivation to go there. I think that's very great point, Terrence, to highlight. And yeah, we'll get to that volunteer. Terrence have a powerful story of some of the stuff that he's doing, and we getting there. But I want to go ahead and pass it along to anybody else want to jump in and talk about that.
I think this is right up my alley, man, because I think a lot of people ask me. I know I don't really want to go into my past, but in a nutshell, I was one of them statistics, though. As far as the city of San Francisco, I was in juvenile hall, group homes, YA, youth authority, log cabin ranch, penitentiary, heck of times. I mean, I went to the pen at 19. So saying that to say this, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. I feel more powerful than ever because I learn every day. I wake up every day and I do not waste my brain. If you're not even having a conversation with me about something that's worth it, I'm gone. I don't care if you're my mama, I'm splitting, because my head is like a computer. It's going to stick in there whether I want it or not, because I heard it. Our memory banks don't have it's not in alphabetical order, but this shit's just in there. Excuse my language. It's in there, and I don't want to feed no more negativity and things that I don't need into my brain. So I believe, yes, we need to be pushing these kids toward anything other than I believe in this too. Like, my daughter is a busybody. So I feel, what do you like to do, daughter? So I channel her into that. Like, take that energy and put it into something you like to do. I don't want you to go to school for computer technology and end up being a damn mechanic. I don't want you to waste your time. And I also teach my kids that I have a few millionaire mentors and music industry I met that I talk to from time to time. And the average millionaire that I talk to have 5 to 7 sources of income. They didn't just get rich off one thing. So I teach my kids to, hey, I'm gonna buy you an ice cream truck. You like to do music, I'm gonna give you a studio. I mean, I try to just give them as much knowledge as possible. I believe that will be like the key to everything. Should Black folks get in? Yes, I think we should be buying houses. We should be opening stores. We should be teaching our kids to do stuff. We should definitely teach, man, because I think that knowledge is everything. I believe that the law, business, yes, that is it, because that's what's taking us down. The law is what's taking Black people down. Business is why Black people keep getting cheated. So of course, I believe that if we channel into that, I believe that economically we will come out better. It may not even be us. Maybe that next generation, they may just have the things that we didn't have. They might have a heck of a lot more power economically, educationally, scholastic. I mean, sports, whatever. If we knowledge, yes, I believe that we should channel it more into schools. Business, definitely. Music, definitely. A lot of money in that, and a lot of people. It's like sports and music to me is neck and neck. Like, when you talking about sports, it sound like you talking like about music. It's the same statistics It's the same everything with our culture. So I believe everything is powerful, but definitely, yes, more into real estate, more into education, and face the facts that people respect degrees. These people respect paper, man. They can kill you with paper. Everything I've shortcoming I've had and went penitentiaries, whatever, was all off a piece of paper. So it can break you with a piece of paper, but them degrees can open doors. So paper, those degrees and the earning it, showing that I put commitment into this. I dedicated my life into this, what I could have been doing all of this. It shows a lot about that individual. Commitment, dedication. So yes, I can say that over and over, man. Definitely. And that's what I want to push. I want to push music, learn, education. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. And I think LeBron hit on it too. Every kid, or because this question, yes, is for our college athletes, but I think it's also just for our kids in the community in general. Being a plumber, being an electrician, doing some of these other jobs is just as important. And we have to also just think about that because we're going to need that in our community. I've heard so many people talk about the certain communities they live in. They couldn't even get services because people didn't want to come to their house because they were Black. So, educating our young people that you can go be an electrician, you can go be a plumber, you can go be a carpenter to help build up those industries as well, I think is very, very important and powerful. And I think it's a conversation we need to have. But anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can. Let me do this real quick. So I was fortunate enough to play pro basketball. I played 8 years overseas. Was in the Mavericks camp. Was in the Milwaukee Bucks camp. So I was fortunate to be in that 1%. Should we invest in other things? Absolutely. Living in another country taught me. I know I played in Germany. Germany was always looked at as a communistic country, especially with the Holocaust and World War II and Hitler. So it definitely has a bad connotation with it. But being over there, kids go to college for free, straight up. So if you want to go to college, that's not even a question. It's just up to you if you want to go or not. And you're not judged if you don't want to go to college. Every young man that graduates high school over there, you have two options. You have to do a year in the military, or you have to do a year of social work. So helping the less fortunate, helping people with disabilities, working with homeless populations. So you have two options as a male. It's nobody is exempt from it. You have to do it, even if you're playing pro sports over there. Once you graduate high school, you still got to do that work. And with that, I just saw a lot more people caring about their country, trying to take care of each other. Do they have their issues? Absolutely. But, I think just putting some of that money towards the communities, like everybody been saying, and brother AJ, thank you for sharing your story, man. Super powerful, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. But I think more money needs to go into education. I work as a counselor. But most of the time, I'm only the only Black counselor that I see. And I tell kids, hey, you'll be a great principal. You'll be a great counselor. You'll be a great teacher. We need more of us in the schools for sure, because just being 100% authentic and honest, I have to check people. I worked at the middle school level for 4 years. And because a kid in the 6th grade got a D on his math test, I heard a teacher telling him, like, hey, if you don't do good in math, you'll be dead or in jail. What? He's in the 6th grade. You know what I mean? We're talking about one test. How is that the first thing that comes out your mouth to a child? And just think how damaging that is to a child, and also the disparity between special ed and families with 504s or accommodations. Kids with the same diagnosis with ADHD, except you got a family with the knowledge that brother AJ was talking about, how I can go to the doctor and say, hey, my kid has ADHD. These are the accommodations that my son or daughter needs in class. We're with our Black population, kid has ADHD. Hey, you got to go to special ed. You're going to be in special ed till you graduate high school. And over that time, they are getting beat the hell down. Like, they are getting beat down. So why would you want to go to college? Why would you want to start a business? Why would you want to do anything when you've been beat down for what, 13, 14 years in school every single day? So yeah, definitely sports is great. You can invest in, how to be financially literate with sports if you happen to make it. Or these are the opportunities I think Brother Terrence was talking about with the different jobs that come along with sports. There's definitely ways you can invest money into these different avenues. And I know brother Hughes is going to touch on that as well. But yeah, man, our kids get beat the hell down in education, and more money needs to go to more resources for these kids. And we definitely need more people of color working in education, because most of the time I'm the only black face that I see at work, and it feel like I'm in a battle. I need some more support sometimes, because having to check people on how they talk to these kids is just outrageous, and how they treat the kids. So why would you want to be a part of society if you're being beat down and told you're not going to amount to nothing, and your only two options are dead and in jail? Like, that's horrible, man. That's horrible. So take some of that money, because college sports definitely does make so much money that is sickening. How much money is made in college sports? They can take care of everything. Just one last point real quick. They passed a law in Georgia where you can get paid for outside of college sports, but the state is going to take 75% of what you make. That's crazy. So if you make $100,000 as a college athlete, they're going to take $75,000 of your money. Come on, man. That's that's horrible. So it's always a catch with college sports. So yeah, take some of that money away and put it towards the community and everything.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm glad you brought that up. Before we move along, I don't want to leave Miss Simone out. I was looking for a couple of women athletes to come on. I wasn't able to connect with them, but you all that don't know, this is Miss Simone. She is Miss Arizona, and I just want to see, how does this tie into the pageantry world? Do you see some of the similar things, or is there any correlations, or is totally different?
Well, for me, I started pageantry in college. I went to HBCU, which was Langston University in Oklahoma, and I started as an athlete. I came on a track scholarship. I was running 400 hurdles. So 300 hurdles, 400 hurdles, not the same. So I got to college and I had my coach, and I had a football coach too. He was tough, and I was crying every time I went home. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want to run no more. I can't do this. It was too hard for me. And it was just difficult for me. When I got to college, running hurdles was a whole another ball game. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. I need money. I done lost my partial scholarship. And someone introduced me into Miss Orange and Blue. It was like, you should start doing pageants, because pageants give you scholarships. I didn't win that pageant, but I ended up learning how to do pageants and going off to win Miss Omega Psi Phi, which they gave me a scholarship, which helped me put towards my funding for school. I was an out-of-state student. So I needed all the money that I can get, especially forfeiting my partial scholarship that I had. I had a partial for academics, and I had a partial for track. And once I got there and I was like, I can't do this, I had to look for other ways to get money, and I started pageantry. And with pageants, it's kind of like the same thing. You got to be the best of the best. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to be able to get out here and get in your community service. But one thing I can say is, it's kind of like what the guys are saying when it's coming to sports. It builds your character. So for me in sports, when I think about, is it worth it? I feel like it is worth it, because it turned me into the businesswoman that I am today. If I had not found pageantry, I don't think I would have been so well spoken. You got to know how to be well spoken on stage. You have to know how to network. Someone mentioned that earlier. When you get into these sports teams, it's the same thing as pageantry. You have to know how to network, because what we already said, everyone isn't going to make it to the next level. For me, I didn't make it to Miss America. I didn't. I mean, I'm the current Miss Arizona United States, but every little girl's dream is to be, Miss America, if you are doing pageantry. I didn't make it to that level, but what I did make it to is learning how to network with these people. And here I am today, about to establish my own pageant in my city that I've only lived in Arizona for 2 years. So I feel like there is some similarities there. You have to get in there and not just be focused, one-minded. Like, you can't just go there and say, you know what, I'm gonna just do basketball and that's it, because injuries come. I mean, as you know, I competed in Miss United States on one leg. So injuries happen. So we have to market the fact that we have to educate our students. Yeah, you're there. That's the promised land. It got you there to get you funded. But we have to focus on your education, because there has to be something else after this. Because, I mean, it's not a guarantee that you are going to go pro. So get in there and network. You know, you might come back and be the college coach. You know, you get in there and network and make a presence for yourself, so that way you can come back and do other things than, you know, making it to pro. But I did have one question, and I didn't know where to fit that in. Why is it, I'm a mother, I have 4 children. Why is it that we automatically go to, you know, the Pee Wee leagues or the little leagues when it comes to rearing our children to the next level? Why is sports the number one thing that we go to when rearing our children? And I have been at fault to that. I have an older son. He's 14 right now. And I was putting him in every sport. I turned out my son is a singer in instruments. He didn't want anything to do with that. So my daughter thought she was going to become a cheerleader. I'm like, yes, I'm going to give you. No, she wants to play the violin. It is amazing at it. So why, as parents, why is it the first thing that we throw our children in is sports? Why don't we research other avenues?
Wow. Anybody want to jump in and answer that? She's basically asking, you know, why do we hone our kids in or focus them in on sports instead of other avenues? Go ahead, Walter, brother. I see you throwing your hands up. Go ahead, jump in there.
Yeah. You know, as a parent of 5 and going through it myself, like I said, I think in our community, we see outlets. We see this brother that made it. Our heroes look like this, right? And rightfully so. Some of these are great human beings, the Steph Currys of the world, LeBron James, right? Kobe Bryant. They're dynamic human beings that are excelling at an ultimate level in their sport. And so we see that as a viable option. We see these rappers that make it. That's a viable route. But what we don't see, which goes back to the other question, so it ties in, is we don't see the Black principle. We don't see, you know, hold on, somebody's vacuuming and I'm sorry. So in the background. So and so I worked I had a career in legal sales. So I went into law firms throughout the Bay Area and I literally sold services to them, right? So I had to come in a suit and tie and all this. And brother AJ, I went from being incarcerated to working in law firms, managing over 16 people within an 18-month period. So it's not paperwork, brother. I could talk my way through any paperwork. It's about understanding. It's about the energy that you bring. It's about the lifestyle that you live. If you're seeking knowledge, that knowledge is going to come out your mouth, right? And so when somebody sits across the table from you, they're going to understand that this is somebody that's passionate. This is somebody that cares. This is somebody that I want working in this organization. But with that being said, is when I got into law, I would see the brothers, the Black attorneys, right? Come on, man, use me. And some of them would, they off top, right? Come on, they see a brother, hey, come and get these services. Some of them, oh my goodness, right? And so, but we need more of them. The numbers are so small. The most African Americans I would see in the financial district, truth be told, the security guards. I got to walk in the building and they got to let me in, and it's the security guards. All the time. That's the brothers and sisters. And I would chum it up with them because I don't want to have to give you my retina scan, my blood sample just to get through the door. You know what I mean? So I would chum it up so they see me coming. Brother Ward, how you doing? And I would go ahead and go up. But it's just not a lot of us. It's not enough of us in those environments for our kids to see as viable options. There's not enough judges that we don't see. And if we had enough politicians in place, they wouldn't allow 75% of a young athlete's income to go back to taxes, right? And like you were talking about, if we have Black police officers enough percentage-wise that were actually good human beings for our people, then we would want to go into law. We would want to see, I sit down now, I transferred out of the legal sales realm and I'm in the personal finance realm. Every time I go, and most of you guys, we're Black, I'm always the only one in the room. I'm going to get financial licenses. I'm going to get continuing education. I'm going into these rooms and I'm learning about these sound financial products and how they've been used for generations in this country. And I'm the only one in the room. Maybe it's two of us. And I get it. This is why our people struggle so much. None of these folks in this room is going in our community knocking on our doors. None of them, right? You all seen Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith and that brother's life story, and he was here in San Francisco. You remember in the movie what neighborhood he went knocking on the doors? That was St. Francis Wood. They not coming to the hood. It's not designed for them to come to the hood. And so we need to spend more money. And the reason Nate dropped off, the reason I love Nate and the Rebels, like this year, every student that plays is playing for free. Every kid that wants to play. Other AAU organizations, they are designed to make money. It's individuals that didn't make it in sports that want to make money and monetize our children, right? And so, now I can take those funds that I was going to pay for this season, and I could put my child in camp during summer that may be more interesting. So now I could put them into coding classes or, something that they can actually learn in a different field. And so it's all encompassing. All these things come together, right? When we see people succeeding in areas that look like us, talk like us, and walk like us, we go, oh, I could do that. We just need more individuals out there. So yes, we should invest in other groups. We should be putting them in debate clubs. We should be doing putting them out there to learn how to commentate. The brother that's sitting there, I'm sorry, your name's not in front of the microphone, but with the microphone and articulate brother, right? Journalistic stuff. My brother John Henry, which John, since the last time we met, I know you, brother. That smile is only for one face, and I've seen that smile before. But look, we need to have our kids learning how to operate in these other areas so they can feel. It's two things I tell my kids. Two things. You need to be comfortable so you become more confident. What happens is our kids become comfortable with seeing these small percentage of numbers that make it, and then we go, that's a viable option. They get confident that that's where they can go. No, we need to get you comfortable in this. I'm going to be honest with you. I call it the dominant race in this country. The dominant race, my kids are in schools with them. I'm rubbing elbows with them. They use sports to put it on the transcripts for their children to get into college so then they could go and get these other careers and so on and so forth and whatnot, right? They know how to use sports where sports is using our kids. And so we need to be able to get them exposure so that they can feel comfortable and confident around butterflies, right? There's a career in there. You know what I mean? Getting them exposure so that they feel comfortable and confident moving forward in these arenas. But it's going to take us. It's going to take us being there for them to see one or two of us. I have sitting down and doing finances for individuals. I'm going to say real quick. I have a plumber. This plumber makes about $200,000 a year. I'm going over his finances. A plumber. I'm like, oh my God, right? I sat down with a vice principal. About $140,000 a year with summer school, stuff like that, things that our kids don't know about. You could be a vice principal making impact and earning that type of money. Police officers, this public record, go Google it, see what they make. Entry-level police officers that are working overtime a lot, but they're making $200,000, $300,000, right? After 5 years, you're vested. You could have a retirement program after 5 years after being a police officer. How good does that paperwork look, brother AJ, if we got our children being police officers for 5 years, made about $1 million if they worked really hard in those 5 years and have some sort of retirement pension coming to them, but they could transfer that and go back into the community and serve. So it's all of these things in one, but that's why I love this show, because we can talk about these topics together, man. So thank you again. That's my piece on that.
Man, real talk. I won't eat it. Jump in there. We go speed it up. But Eric, let me throw this question here. So y'all see the one question that we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier with Lorine. I think Lorine jumped off. I know him and Nate is in motion, but we appreciate both of them. And if they could get back on, they will. We appreciate them tuning in. But one of the questions was about the sport athletes. Are they getting the basic needs? And I know Ryan touched on it a little bit about the laundry and different things like. So I want to throw these two questions in there because we want to move in. I want to jump into the volunteer spot because we got about 45 minutes, and I really want to talk about this volunteer. I really want Terrence to get in there and talk about his stuff. AJ, we all go kind of shift the conversation. But the question that's up on the screen: are college athletes starving from basic needs while in college? And then the other thing that I want to put in there is, What about sports and politics? What role do they play in our community as we start kicking into the volunteer and the community conversation? I think this is very important because when I was coming up, it was always this thing, Michael Jordan, it was always, he didn't want to get into politics, right? But now in America, we're starting to see a shift because of all of the social justice movement and things that's going on. And now politics in sports is starting to really revolutionize and impact the country. When you're talking about in Georgia, we got voter suppression going on in Florida, and now these organizations and these professional sport athlete teams are starting to boycott and move out of these cities. And it's kind of like, it's kind of impressive to starting to see some of the professional teams come together to start really supporting the movement. But it was a long time ago. I mean, even in the workplace, I'm starting to see it even more in the workplace. It's always this notion that you don't talk about politics, politics and different things in the workplace. But now the conversations are happening more. More people are talking about it, is getting involved. But what role is that? Do you guys think that is a role of our athletes? Should we do more? And even in the workplace, because I think some of these people need to be educated in the workplace about what's going on. And like I said before, we had a couple of HR people who came on our show a couple of weeks ago, and they said that they are starting to open up to let people talk about these differences, because I think the only way we really heal and we move together as a country or we move together as community is we have to have these conversations. They got to be real. They have to be authentic, and we can't BS. And that's what we're trying to provide here at both sides of the conversation. But I want to give it to Eric. Talk to us about the sports and politics and the things that you think. I know you over there at UNLV in Vegas there, so I know you see a lot of those athletes. You're interviewing them and things of that nature. Can you talk to a little bit of that to kind of let people know?
Yeah, that's a very interesting intricate that we've been all kind of suffering within the last year. I think with the shutdown with COVID, with sports literally coming to a halt. We had the unnecessary killing of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We got to see, even athletes had a lot of downtime. So at that point, you got athletes like Malcolm Brogdon from the, I believe he plays for the Pacers now. He's an actual local, he's a lobbyist. He's a policy writer. You got people that are policy writers. You got people that got master's degrees in all these different education and social justice reforms where they had nothing but downtime. They were still fortunate enough to some of them still collect a check. Why not go out there and protest in these streets? So I think it got to the point, personally, enough was enough. And I think, with Michael Jordan, it was a different type of genre. We had a couple of Rodney King incidents during the 90s. The O.J. Simpson trial kind of pivoted a little bit, but we all know how the whole thing is, especially being from the Bay, how the O.J. Simpson trial kind of played out. But when you got Trayvon Martin, you got Mike Brown, you got Ahmaud Arbery, and all these senseless, heinous attacks that have gone on with the technology that we have now, it ain't no choice but a lot of these athletes to kind of start speaking out. Now, here's the thing where it gets a little bit tricky. Do we need to depend on when LeBron James opens up his mouth? Do we need to start speaking out? That's the part where it gets a little tricky, because we all have our own mouths. We all have our own platforms that we can utilize. We all have our own views and stuff like that. So it's good that LeBron James and Steph Curry and all these top 1% athletes are finally utilizing the platforms to say, you know what, dog, we're not going to play tonight. We're going to get up and walk out. There's instances where it was affecting their personal pockets, and they didn't do that. If we take a couple of years ago, the LA Clippers against the Golden State Warriors were in a playoff game. Donald Sterling said a whole lot of racist stuff pertaining to Magic Johnson. I felt that they should have protested that and not sat and played the game, but yet they were too busy kind of saying that it affected with their money and yada, yada, yada. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Do they do it when it's convenient for them, or they do it because they're actually about that action? So it's a tricky situation. I'm happy personally that it is taking place. It needs to happen more, but I also need to say, we got to tread softly. And now you brought up a point of at UNLV, we have actually had our first Black president since we've been in existence in 1956. So about 50 years. We just literally had our first Black president this past year that came on, and he's had to unpack a lot of stuff that's been going on within our campus. We just had when the state capitol happened on January 6th, we just had our first HR conversation where, once again, like what my man down here was saying, I'm usually the only one in these meetings. I'm the one that only looks like me. And then I'm biracial too, so then I get it both ways. I'm Black and Japanese, so I get a double whammy when I bring up Asian stuff. And here we are talking about Asian hate right now as well. So when I'm in these meetings and I give them that side, they look at me as if I'm crazy. But my thing is, if I wasn't Asian or if I wasn't Black, why do you have to look at me sideways when I'm bringing up all of these different things? So these conversations are healthy, but also at the same time, why do you have to look at me as if I'm some type of alien when I'm bringing up all of these things that I personally not only happened to me, but happened to my family and my friends? So I'm cool that we're having it, but also at the same time, I don't want no freebies, but I also want to let you all know that we should all be treating each other like human beings at the end of the day. I'm no bigger than anybody else in this room. I'm no bigger than anybody else when I walk out my house, and we all need to keep it at the same level. So it's crazy. But to answer your question, I'm very, very happy that the athletes are speaking out. And yeah, at the workplace, especially in higher ed, it's happening.
Wow, definitely powerful. Go ahead, T, jump in there, T.
Yeah, I think this is something I think like sports have a history of like standing up, like it makes a good player versus a legend, like for me, like Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali stuck up, you know what I mean? Changed his name, you know what I mean? From Cassius Clay, all of that was like heck of political back then, you know what I mean? He didn't go to the army, you know what I mean? He went to jail, you know what I mean? Like for real, you know what I'm saying? I just watched that movie 42 the other day, like the struggle that Jackie Robinson had to go through. You know what I mean? He wasn't out as vocal, but he stayed committed and through all that stuff, and it changed, you know. Even this movie, Pele, with the soccer player, right? You know, they had a whole issue about the way that the streets played and everything. And that's what he did. And he like politically played this Jenga style, you know what I mean? To be political, you know what I mean? So I think like sometimes like sports have a history of it. You know what I mean? I think it's a history there. Like, you know, I think like for the longest time, we weren't allowed to be like politicians, right? So we had to find ways to be political. You know what I mean? And I think like sports has gave us a platform to do that for many people, you know.
Man, that's powerful. I'm glad you brought that up. You know, a lot of our athletes have made changes in this country. I got on my Kaepernick jersey today. My boy Cap, he put out a lot too. I want all of the people that's watching on YouTube, we'll start getting to your questions in a minute, but we're going to shift the conversation to our volunteer part of the conversation. I think this is important, but y'all just heard my brother Eric Compton talking. Please check out his sports biz. He has some phenomenal conversation about sports. And, you know, we got to support each other, and that's what it's really all about. But Simone, if you want to go ahead and start opening up with our volunteer question, because I want community to know, and I think Terrence is going to have a powerful story, why it's important to get involved with community organizations, why we need to get our young people involved with volunteering, our nonprofits, and some of our community organizations, as well as the adults in the community. I mean, we have to do more than just go to work and come home and not be involved. I know we get tired during the week, but it's very important for community to start getting involved with what's going on, not only in this country, but in our communities. And I want to just lead off as Simone opened up with the first question, but I want to leave to Terrence, because Terrence and them are doing something very powerful to impact not only California, and I think if they could get the change here in California, it's really going to impact the way policy and legislation happen across this country with our Black and brown people who are being incarcerated, and some of the things that are taking place in this country. And Terrence has a powerful story, and y'all heard him earlier talk about getting a master's degree in education, but because of a bad decision in the criminal past, that he was, you know, not able to leverage his master's degree because some of this, and he's fighting for justice for people who've been incarcerated. And that's part of like the community drive as well, getting our people in the community pumped up, engaged about things like what Terrence doing. But I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead, Simone, and you want to give out the question for the first or you could go ahead and just read all three of them, and we'll just jump into the conversation.
Okay, so the question that I have here is, what impact has volunteering had on the youth that work with your organization? Are they getting out of their comfort zone and taking leadership roles? And then the next question I have is, where do you see the need for volunteers? And then tell us about the impact of your volunteering in your community.
All right, powerful stuff. I want to go ahead and let Terrence jump in, tell his story, who he's working with, what they're doing. I think this is going to kick off the conversation in a positive way. So go ahead, T.
Yeah, my name is Terrence Stewart, and I'm the membership engagement manager with Time Done. And what Time Done is an educational component to educate people on the thousands of barriers that you face once you have a criminal record. So like all these barriers that we face, and what we do is we work towards leadership development. And that's what I like to call it. So like, when we're saying volunteer, it's more leadership development, and we're working directly with impacted people to change policy and that creates all the barriers that we have for day-to-day living. So like, right now, like a lot of the volunteer work that we're doing is catered towards like, first providing opportunity for leadership, but also like, talking to politicians about all the barriers that they have, because a lot of times politicians have never walked in our shoes and don't understand the struggle it is to have a conviction on your record and to be to deny many things from housing, jobs, legal licenses, family reunification because of an old record. So like what we're doing is like getting people from everyday people like us to get actually involved in the community to make this difference. And like, why is it important? Is because just like how we were saying before, the economical impact of like having brothers, because that's the main 1 in 3 brothers it got a record, is that like, it makes like 1 in 3 of us have that many more, make it that much harder for us to have jobs. And then especially in communities where like there's a lot of people with past convictions, that means each person has all these barriers, and that makes it harder for that whole community, because now that whole community have all these different barriers. So like what it's about is about removing these barriers so that we could reach our full potential in life and be as prosperous as possible.
Man, powerful stuff. I'm just glad to have you here today to actually talk about Time Done. And you guys see the text number going to get a part of it, to get information is going across the screen. This is a very important conversation. And I think, Eric, you guys are going to appreciate this because, again, you guys just talked about earlier, having more teachers that look like us. Walter talked about having more people in the law, having more people as principals, having more people in different professional backgrounds. There is a lot of loopholes in legislation that really impacts people that has a criminal background, or and in this country, I feel like the second chance is just really being diminished. And what they're doing at Time Done is just going to be very, very impactful to our community. As we know, the Black and brown community, when it comes to over policing, overcharging, over sentencing, we have been impacted the most. And this fight, this movement that they're going, I am behind it, because again, they're talking about making, having a record or having a criminal background like a credit card. After 7 years, 10 years, it drop off your record, right? You don't have to do it, right? Having automatically, you're not having to go foul to get this stuff automatically removed off of your background. So this is a powerful brother. We got some more of his people from Time Done that's going to be coming on, collaborate with us to get the information out. It's what is it? Senate Bill AB 73. What is it?
It's Senate Bill 731. And like to your point, is what it's going to do. It creates automatic record clearance. So that means after you complete your time, you complete supervision, and you're crime free for a certain amount of time, then your record will be automatically wiped off. So like right now, they have things like expungement clinics and all these different other things that people can go to get their record sealed. But what we're trying to do is like, you ain't got to fill out no paperwork, no nothing. After you did your time and you qualified, your record should be gone. You know what I mean? And like, and that happens because it's over 8 million people in California living with a past conviction. You know what I mean? And like, it's over 48,000 barriers that we face day to day. So like that's the numbers on that is crazy, and that's directly impacting our community. So like it's what we're constantly doing. We've been in this fight for quite some time. We helped push Prop 47. So this was like volunteering. Like, so I first started off with like my job is running with volunteering. I volunteered for over 7 years when I first got out of prison. You know what I mean? I volunteered for 7 years. I advocated for change. A reason why I started to advocate, because when I first got out, I had to get a job. And that's when I started to realize how hard it was to get a job. And then I went to college and I started getting student jobs, and I started working at the college and started getting little like income and different things through this college. So now I had income, and then I got my wife pregnant. So now we had to move out. And then I realized how hard it was to get housing. you know, and like it's a story because of that, because once you have a record, right, to apply for an apartment, right, you have to pay. Every adult has to pay a credit report, right? So every apartment you play for, you're gonna pay anywhere from $25 to $50 every person that applies. Now I have a record, so they're telling me no. So like even when you talk about the money, you know what we were talking about earlier, like for me to apply for apartments, I'm paying $50 each of application, and then I have to give them $100 holding fee, and they still telling me no because I have a record. And it's hard for me to get a job. It's hard for me to get in the apartment. And they don't care if I had my baby with me. I was married. I had gone to college. I was a humanitarian. Like all this stuff didn't matter because of the policy. People could say, "Oh man, you're a great person," but because of this policy, so like it's hard to live. And then when I finally got a job, I finally got somewhere to live. You know, I tried to adopt my nephew. And they wouldn't let me adopt my nephew because of a record. You know what I mean? Like, and what's troublesome about all this stuff is that like everything that they ever ran my record for recently and everything is something I was trying to do positive. Like I was trying to get a job. That's positive. You know what I mean? Like for real, I'm trying to get into housing. That's positive. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to adopt my nephew. That's positive. You know what I mean? Like everything that I'm trying to do to get right back in society, they're denying me. You know what I mean? So like, when is enough enough? You know? So like, yeah. So like, through volunteer efforts throughout the years, I start to get more and more involved. You know, start having more and more roles. To the point now, I'm the national director of membership and organization for people with past convictions with leadership development to help people to advocate for policy changes to help ourselves. You know what I mean, and all the barriers that we face day to day. And you know, and it's a group effort. You know what I mean, just like John here. You know what I mean, he's represented. It's teamwork that's making this dream work. You know, and you know what I mean. So, but like we're moving stuff. Like we already like in 2 years ago. See, and you got to understand this because, like, everything has been calculated. We've been calculated. We're formally incarcerated, like you said. We're still smart. We're off the hook, right? But like, so the first step was to pass automatic expungements, and we passed automatic expungement. So like, now people get out instead of having to go through the expungement process. It happens automatically for them in expungements, right? So now, once we started the conversation with automatics, now we started the conversation for automatics, right? So now we're trying to increase that bill for the automatics for all people with felonies. You know what I mean? That qualify. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's going to, and the impact is that in the first year, if we pass it, and we're 6 months away from passing this, in the first year, if we pass this, right, we're going to help 3.5 million people who have old records that have been trying to get their life together not have records no more. You know what I mean? 3.5 million people in the first year, right? And then over 50,000 people every year after that, right? But look at the first year, right? That's the size of the Connecticut. That's the size of the state of Connecticut. Like, you know what I mean? So like, you know what I mean? We're finna make a difference. You know what I mean? And this is the volunteer efforts that we're having, and we have a delegate team, and we got a beautiful team throughout the state of California, from everywhere, from Humboldt County all the way to San Diego, with different people with past convictions that are subject matter experts that are making a difference. You know what I mean? Because they've been told the same thing that they've been told ever since they've been going to school, that they ain't nothing. They don't amount to nothing. They tell you all this stuff, but they willing to spend over $65,000 a year to house you and lock you up and keep you down, right? But they'll tell you ain't nothing, right? But I'm telling you, you are something. I'm telling you, you are something. We're finna make a difference. We're finna plug our kids in education. We're finna plug our kids in all these different vocational classes, everything you will. Put them in financial wellness and everything else, because we're finna help the whole person. So like, what we're finna do is the time done phenomenon, and that's what it is, man. You know what I mean? It's the time done phenomenon. You know what I mean? You can see the thing. You can text sunsets to 97779, and that's the sunsets is the bill that we're pushing to pass to automatic the record clearance process. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's powerful. Everybody get out there and text to that number. I'm gonna keep it running on the bottom of the screen. And Terrence, I want to tell you it's powerful. And we got Walter here that's doing financial literacy. We got Eric Compton that's doing podcasts. We got Simone. And and I know you're just targeted here in California first. But people, just think about what he's saying. And I know it's always going to be somebody out there that's listening or watching going to say, oh, well, how many of these criminals and different things of that nature? Terrence been crime free for many years. But the bad decision that he made when he caught his charge is still affecting him 10, 15 years down the line. And this is what I need people to understand. In America, we can't say we are part of a second chance, and we this motto of we care about people, right? But we have our community, we have our organizations, we have this legislation, we have these things in place that really don't give a second chance. Y'all hear this, brother? He not asking for nothing crazy, nothing outrageous. He's talking about being able to get, possession and custody of his nephew who might need his situation that they coming out, right? Getting an apartment. And while you talking about that, maybe we need to really rethink about businesses and apartment owners. Maybe we can't charge them until they get the place, right? Because a guy like Terrence, maybe you or somebody else coming home don't have the money, got to pay $50. That can add up after you apply for 3 or 4 apartments. You just spent $300, can't even get a place to live. You know what I'm saying? So maybe we need to rethink about some of that stuff. And when we talk about making policy change, these are the conversations that we need to have. Maybe they do change the policy where apartments can't ask for initial down payment for an application process, right? Maybe if you've given the person a place, you have to pay it then, or you add it to the rent or subsidize in some kind of way. But these are the things we need to be thinking about, because a lot of times we do things and we really don't intentionally look at the impact that it's going to have. I mean, this brother is dope. He's very powerful, very passionate about what he's doing, right? He has a master's degree in education. We just talked about having people that look like us in our school districts, right? Here's a black man, been through something. We talk about the disadvantages that our young black males have in a school district. Why you wouldn't want a brother like Terrence working in one of these difficult school districts with our young man? He could give him that life experience, what he's been through to get here. How inspirational is that? You see what I'm saying? But we got to rethink about our mindset, and we have to reprogram ourselves here in America, because we become too prejudgmental, and we haven't really accepted the real ideal of rehabilitation and what it looks like. And there are some people that reoffend. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that every inmate is getting out doing the right thing like Terrence. But then again, there's 3.5 million people that's going to be affected that have been doing the right thing. And I've been on a couple of their calls, okay? I've talked to a lot of these brothers, and I've heard them talk about their frustrations, just trying to make it day to day in a life. And I think I was on one of y'all calls, Terrence, and I think the brother was saying just here in California, the amount of people that have background records, the financial impact that California is losing for the GDP is billions of dollars, because these people can't get proper employment, right? So just think, if all these people, 3.5 million people, are able to go to work, pay taxes, how much more tax-paying dollars we could get in our state of California. We just talking about California, but this movement that they're doing is going to impact the whole country. And I hope this bill go all the way, to our Congress and all the way to DC, because again, look in Georgia, look in Florida, look in Arkansas, look in Louisiana. How many black and brown people are affected that have felonies for misdemeanors here in California? We have people in jail for 5-10 years for 1 gram of marijuana. You know what I mean? Like little stuff, and they're getting felonies in certain states. So I mean, it's definitely a lot. But I think what you all are on are going to really change the community, and that's why we want to get behind this. And this is why we wanted to have this volunteer conversation, because we need community to start getting engaged with organizations like Time Done and some of the other organizations on here to really impact our community. We got to get involved. We got to get engaged. But go ahead, T. You want to jump back in there, and then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, no, it was one more question I wanted to say, because I wanted to talk about Time Done, but it was a question about the youth that got brought up with volunteering. And I think what things that I did, because I volunteered at continuation schools for a long time, continuation schools, youth centers, and things of this nature, right? And what I used to do was, like, okay, I had a connection to the college, right? So like we did a freestyle battle. So the backdrop for the freestyle battle, I went to continuation school, all these little taggers was there. I said, hey man, draw me a backdrop for my freestyle battle. And they did, right? So I put the backdrop in the thing, and I invited all them kids that helped to put the banner together to the college. So this was the first time ever in college. This their first trip to ever to the college was a rap battle where their art was being displayed. You know, so now they're proud to be there, you know, and when I get them up there, I tell them about all kinds of stuff that goes on in college. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? That encouraged people to, like, you know what I mean, to even think about college for the first time. You know what I mean? Because like they never thought about it before. Also, like another volunteer pro thing we did was like we were volunteering at the continuation school, Bayside, and then so like when I was there, we did a thing called the Picture Project, right? So we got the kids that got kicked out of other schools to give a presentation at the actual college, right? And this time their family came, right? Their family, their friends. We had packed it out with students, and these are kids from the continuation school that's giving a presentation with official business at the college. You know, so like this is another way that got them to want to like engage in college instead of the traditional way of a regular college tour. You know, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like this is why we got to put us in these predicaments, because we could come up with these little ideas. You know what I mean? And then also like I was doing workshops at the continuation schools, right? So another thing that we talked about, right, was like people ain't got money to go to college, right? So it's all the writing prompts that we ever did. We took scholarships and we had them write towards scholarship writing prompts. And at least that way, like, it's getting them to put them in a pipeline to have some money to go to college and even think about it for the first time. You know what I mean? So like, these are like different ways that you could volunteer opportunities. And then like I said, kids at continuation schools, kids that was at the youth center and all this type of stuff that where I live at, the college street is university, that live off of university but never been to the university, right? So I finally got to, like, you know, connect the dots. And it takes people like us to connect the dots, because like, you know what I mean? Like nobody never connected them for me. So like when it came down to that question earlier before about is college worth it? For me, heck yeah. You know what I mean? Like for me growing up, the first time I ever felt safe in my life, was on a college campus. You know, I mean, walking up and down the streets and stuff, you know, you watch every car, everything, you know, the police, the enemies, people trying to jack you, all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So like, you know, to finally go to a college campus and to get away from all that stuff, man, it was worth it. You know, it was worth it for me. You know what I mean? So like, you know, like leadership is opportunity. And then like on these campuses and everything else, like even if you do get beat up and bullied in school and stuff, college is different from high school. You're grown there. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You're not a kid. You know what I mean? So like, you know, it's a whole lot more freedom. You have a whole lot more self-expression. You ain't got to follow this same dress code. Like you're free to be who you are. And like, you know what I mean? For me, that helped me a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, it's just some things I be thinking about when it comes down to it, you know, and like the experience that I had through college was like, it changed my life, you know? So like, I'm encouraging of it. If college ain't your venue, you know, let's put you in the right venue. But like, as far as like, you know, volunteering to get the youth and like seeing a whole nother world. And yeah, and one more thing I want to tell y'all too about volunteer, right? So my first college tour, right, I did during a juvenile camp program, right? So like some volunteers had created an essay writing contest. They created an essay writing contest and they sent it to the juvenile halls. And I came in third place in this essay writing contest while I was locked up as a juvenile. And because of that, every month I got to go on while I was locked up, I got to go on a college tour. You know, see, that's what planted the seed to tell me that I could go to college one day. You know, is that like somebody volunteered to create a program to work with the juvenile hall to make a kid go to a college tour. And I walked around college and seen the people that was there and said, man, I could do this, because I never seen myself in college before. You know, and I was locked up when it happened. You know, and so like, you know what I mean, when they talked about volunteers, it's all types of ways that we can volunteer to engage the youth. We just have to trust ourselves and not trust the traditional way that they have taught us to do it.
Man, phenomenal, very powerful. You got me excited over here. And you know how I feel about our juveniles. I do a lot of work mentoring our young people in San Francisco Juvenile Hall. And I always tell people, you never know when the light switch is going to kick on. And what we do is we never give up on our young people. And yes, sometimes they go out, make another mistake, and they don't get it all. But you got to keep working with them. You got to keep showing love because you never know what it's going to take that next time that's really going to trigger them to do something different, to really impact themselves and the community. So that's why I'm committed to that. But brother Eric, I want to let you get on it then, Walter and then AJ. Go ahead, E.
Yes, volunteering's big, man, and especially with the youth. I know, I mean, coming from where I'm from, it almost seemed like it was kind of natural being in the Bay Area. It's almost like it kind of goes in secondhand. I know Nate was on the call earlier, but I know just being part of the Red Bulls product, I mean, he out there doing the city eats. You know, there was always something for us to do. It was something outside of sports, and I think that's one of the reasons why I can attest and be such a huge supporter of the Rebels for sure, is because they instill those things. It's not, you know, the question was brought up earlier as far as, you know, why do we have kids play sports? I mean, there's so many things that venture outside within those little ranks that we come in. We got to volunteer. I know my mom was big on volunteering. Even out here, I do a lot of volunteer work as well. So, you know, when you volunteer, it's not only giving back to the community, but it's also giving you a sense of pride. It depends on, and it could be on anything. It could be anything for mentoring kids. It could be anything for helping a homeless out. I spent a few weeks ago helping homeless veterans get shelter. I got a good friend of mine who I deployed with in Iraq. He has his own nonprofit out here that basically helps homeless veterans get back on their feet and fully furnishes their homes. So we talking about brand new mattresses that come from mattress discounters out here. We got brand new furniture that so many different people from different organizations that donate to his nonprofit. And we literally go in their houses. We got a whole bunch of veterans that go out there, unload their trucks and set their houses up. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. But the most important thing is just having that sense of pride, is just being that could have been me. I could have been a homeless veteran. You know what I'm saying? I could have been one of the less fortunate when I came back. And, you know, you hear all the sad stories where homeless veterans can't even get an ID card just for them to be able to identify themselves, that they were actually able to protect and serve the country, or the country that, you know, that they were supposed to. So it's just a sad situation to see that. So, you know, I always say, you know, why people always want to volunteer, because it could be you. You could always be on the other side of the shoe. And all of the different spectrums. You got Walter that been, you know, some things that happened to him. Terrence, like you said, you got people that flip the bag that's doing 10 to 20. They can't even get that off their records, and they can't even do the right thing. And you got people that are trying to live a decent life and make an honest living. And you're talking about flipping a bag that happened 10 to 15 years ago, and that's still being held against them. So I support everybody here. I'm actually already reaching out to y'all because I definitely want to do my homework and see what I can do on here. You know, I'm about 500 some odd miles away, but you know, this is a good thing about technology. You can do everything within the palm of your hands at this point. So volunteering is huge. I still do it even now. I did it. We used to do it a lot when we were kids, just because it just instilled in you, letting you know that, you know, it kind of humblizes you and also just gives you a sense of pride of just being able to help people. And I think being from the Bay Area, being from the city, it definitely makes me feel, you know, it makes me feel good. It honestly does. Like, I've never been to a place where I felt like it was sketchball city. You know, you walk in a homeless shelter, you talk to all different types of people with different backgrounds, and I've never felt that type of, and I don't know, maybe that's just because I'm able to talk to people, but that aspect of just talking to ex-convicts and everything like that, you know, I never felt intimidated, or this dude that did 25 years for, you know what I'm saying? You never feel that way because it started at such a young age for me, and being able to talk to different type of people. So I support it. I think we need to keep doing it. And I think volunteering also helps you out with networking and kind of leading up off the paths of being a rapper and athlete.
Man, very powerful. I'm glad you said that. My brother Eric, he is from San Francisco, Bay Area native. He is living in Vegas, working at UNLV, doing his podcast. We got Simone in Arizona. We got Terrence in Southern California. We got Walter and AJ here in the city, the Bay Area. I'm here in the city. So, you know, it is very powerful. And that's why we have to utilize this technology, these platforms to really connect. I see Miss Kathy putting up questions. She's from Houston, Texas, another powerful sister doing stuff to impact the community. community. And I also just want to say before I pass it over to Walter, thank you, Eric, for your service. A lot of time our Black veterans don't get the respect, and I always want to acknowledge that here at both sides of the conversation, because we know a lot of our Black veterans don't get the respect and the service accolades that they need from community. So I also want to just say thank you for our service, and I do want to reach out to you as well, because there's some stuff that we're going to do here in San Francisco. There's a huge population of veterans who are on the streets dealing with mental health, different things, and we definitely need to figure out a way, how do we connect these people with services, get them to a point to show the respect and honor for their service for this country as well. And I'm gonna keep fighting for our veterans here in this Bay Area, because I know it's a lot of them that's in need. So thank you. Walter, go ahead and jump in there, my brother.
Yep, for sure, for sure. I'm gonna make it sweet and short, because speaking of sports, I got to take my kids to their flag football game. But real quick, volunteering changed my life. I had a gentleman, a mentor by the name of Joe Tabron. Joe Tabron, he grew up on Northridge Projects, so when I was transitioning my life into normalcy, he was there, and he took me to Haiti twice. I went to Haiti and I served, and it changed my life. It changed my life to see humans living in those conditions and still smiling brighter than I ever had. Right. My worst day here is better than their best day there, but they had a light about them. Right. They were able to keep smiling and be about community and care and be loving and all these things. And I really started to look at what was valuable, right, in life. And so that's the name of our organization, is a serving family citywide. We want to serve. Right. We want to give back. So we're taking young people back into the community to serve the community, to change the community, to impact it. And so they can be a part of the change. And it really starts to change the narrative. Because I had a kind of thoughts in my head from Haiti and voodoo and all this stuff, right? Like it's just and so like you go and serve in a homeless shelter, you realize not everybody's a drug addicted person here. Not everybody's an alcoholic here. So it starts to change the narrative when you start to realize and appreciate the blessings that you have, and know if it was one decision or one wrong thing, or somebody, you hear a grandma had cancer and they lost grandma's house, and then and so it really gets you to see people. It humanizes it to get out there and volunteer and give, right? I got something that maybe you don't have, and it's okay. And I can give it to you, and I can serve you and show you. Love is an action word. And so we need to get out here and take action with it. And so that's part of our whole plan is, yes, we want to get kids in here. And yes, we want to teach them job readiness. And yes, we want to teach them financial literacy and leadership development. But we want to get them out there in the community. Like, we're going to be painting houses in the community. Right, for families in the community. They got a garage. They need to get separated in storage. We're going to get the storage bins. We're going to set it up. We're going to come in. If you know anybody locally in San Francisco, we got a lot of lists that we're getting through, but we're coming in and cleaning their backyard. We're going to take the young kids from the community and build the community with unity. And you can't have community without unity, but you can't have unity without you and I. So it takes us, right? It's a village, you know what I'm saying, to get there. And so that's what we're all about. So I appreciate you guys. I love y'all dearly. Mr. Terrence, man, I'm calling you. I have my record expunged. I didn't go down there for 12, 13, 15 years. I can't even tell you, because I didn't think it was going to happen. And 30 people on calendar, 29 of them got their record expunged the same day as I did. The other brother, he had to prove he wasn't on probation in Oakland. She said, go get proof, come back. And why did we have to do that? Why did I have to go through all those job interviews and feel less than? They know the psychological warfare that they want to put us through, and so we overcame. But I'm a couple with you guys, man. I got to run out of here and take my kids to go play football. I love y'all, family. Keep doing what you're doing. You and I build unity, and unity is going to take our community to where we need to be. God bless y'all.
Man, thank you, brother. I know you're a big family guy, and go ahead and get out there. We're going to be wrapping up anyway in 10 minutes, but thank you, Walter. That was very powerful. And again, to our sisters out there, don't tell me black dads don't rock. He's a father of 5, you know what I'm saying, doing his thing for the fathers out there. Appreciate you. But we're going to keep, we got some connections coming up, but get out there and get them kids out there to go play ball as we start wrapping this up. My brother, AJ, I want to go ahead and throw it over to you, AJ. We're going to be wrapping up here. We got about 10 minutes, but go ahead, AJ, if you want to throw in anything, and then we'll start closing this thing out. We can't hear you. I think your mic, we can't hear you, AJ. Is your mic on? Or you got your earphones connected. You got to put your earphones in.
Yeah, definitely. Man, salute to everybody, especially to yeah. Hold on one second. Yeah. Hello. You hear me now? Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Definitely, man. Terrence, what you were saying, man, I'm definitely on that, and I just kind of took your information too because I just tried to go to Mexico. My sister just got married. I couldn't even go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm having big issues, with that. So I definitely be on that. But as far as volunteer go, like I believe it's important, man. Definitely because I believe that a lot of these kids, they'll listen to individuals they know, especially from our communities. I think it's real big for people from certain communities to go back into their community where people actually know you and know what you came from, how you overcame a lot of stuff. Because I believe that I could make a more of an impact in a lot of people because a lot of people know that what I'm saying is the truth. I actually lived it. I've been through that, and I actually helped destroy my community. So yeah, man, I feel like I gotta give back, man. I feel like I should be doing it a lot more than what I do. And that's why I hooked up with John Henry on this, and I go to juvenile hall, but I need to be doing a lot more, a lot more, because I did destroy my home. I played a big part in destroying my home, and I didn't intentionally mislead people, but I'm sure I did. I glorified my lifestyle and I made my lifestyle seem like it was something more than what it really was. And when I think back on that, it's like I wouldn't say that to my daughter sitting right here. I wouldn't say it to her. I wouldn't want nobody to say it to my son. So you know what I mean? I got a different outlook on that. And I just feel like I owe the community. I owe people. I owe youth. I owe people. I owe it to them to do what I do. So yeah, definitely. I'm strong in that, man. And I do believe it opens a lot of doors. And I believe in more people, who and I do actually, let me put this out there. I do talk to a lot of the friends that I grew up with, because it's not many of us still here, but I do tell them that, I talk to them about, coming to Omegas and, doing a few things and making your presence felt a lot more instead of standing out here doing the same things we was doing when we was 17, and I do kind of put that out there. So I think I'm more, I want to do a heck of a lot more though. I definitely do. I want to do more. I would love to teach. I would love to have my own nonprofit to teach the kids music and teach them everything that I know and try to, send them on a different path. But as far as that goes, man, I'm 2 thumbs up all the way with that, man. And if I can help anybody on here with anything, please contact me and let me know. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm definitely with it. But volunteering, man, I'm all for that though.
Man, definitely powerful. Miss Simone, I know volunteering is very important to you. I know you have your organization made, things that you're doing to help bless our community with financial literacy. I mean, you got a lot going on too. So how do you feel about volunteering and things that you have going on?
I'm an advocate for volunteering. Actually, I went to high school in Texas, and it was in order for us to graduate, we had to have a certain amount of volunteering hours. So that's where my volunteering kind of began. We had never heard of that. I'm originally from St. Louis, so to tell us you got to get volunteering hours in order to graduate high school. So I'm an advocate for volunteering because it builds character. And believe it or not, it wasn't always just having to volunteer at like homeless shelter. They put us in positions of like volunteering at stores, different things to help us navigate through life. So I also want people to kind of think about it as that it doesn't always have to be where it's homelessness or, domestic violence. They actually have volunteering programs where you can teach your children how to become businessmen and business women. So it's a two-way street when it comes to volunteering, but whatever way you go with it, it builds character. And like someone was mentioning earlier, I have always just been that person to want to help. So I've always just loved volunteering because I love to help my community, and it presents that networking opportunity. And you'll hear me say that a lot because I don't have a degree. Yes, I did mention I went to college, but I didn't have a degree. And I think things like volunteering equip me with the tools to know how to network within my community. I talk to political people. I, talk with the mayor, and, all of these things started because of having that skill of, okay, you got to volunteer. And then also, like I told y'all before, entering into my first pageant in college. So I'm an advocate for volunteering because it builds character and it just shows you necessary life skills. It can either show you where you want to be or where you don't want to be. So that's my take on it.
Man, very powerful. Thank you for all the things that you do as well, Simone, for the community, for the people. Thank all the panelists that came on today. I know we lost Nate and Lorian, phenomenal brothers doing some amazing things to impact our community. We have Eric, phenomenal sportscast. If you're into sports like I'm into sports, you got to check out his Sports Biz podcast. I mean, phenomenal brother doing stuff, and I'll put his thing up there so everybody can see. Check him out. Support the brothers. That's one thing that we have to do in the Black and Brown community is continue to support each other, uplift each other, and make sure that community knows that we're out here, and it's very important. And just wanted to say thank you all for coming on with this conversation today. Brother Terrence, you are very powerful, impactful. Please, everyone out there, please text the Time Done number, get the information. We need community. This movement that they're starting is going to go across this whole United States at some point. They're starting here to get the groundwork done in California, but everybody knows things happen here and we just move it out to the east. And I think this is going to be phenomenal to help our people that's been impacted with criminal background records. Again, we have a lot of people in the community that has done their time, paid their debt back to society, been off probation, never reoffend, 10, 12, 15 years. These people shouldn't have to be impacted in the way that they are. So just phenomenal work they're doing. Just want to thank them again. And Brother Gilbert and Tanise and all of the people that's doing work with Time Done. And we're going to continue to highlight the work you guys doing as you guys get close to that 6-month mark, making sure community in the Bay Area are on our platform to help pump what you guys are doing, because I think it's very important and powerful. And just keep doing what you're doing, brother. And I know you're going to get to the finish line, small victories, and you guys are on your way. So I just want to say thank you. And it's just been a pleasure to connect with you. Phenomenal guy, man. We've talked several times. He's always reaching out, and I know we're both busy. But again, we support each other. That's what it's all about. He supported me. That's why he's here today for this show. And we support him at Time Done. And we're going to keep pushing that information from Time Done through all of our social media handles to make sure that our people in the community gets this, because that impact is real. It's really going to affect a lot of lives. And brothers like Terrence, we need them in our schools. Everybody's talking about our schools need more of us. And this is a way we need to start off with a brother like Terrence in there educating our community and our people. So with that being said, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and start closing out for today's show. I want to tell everybody this Tuesday coming up, we will have another segment of our Hidden Gem show where we will continue to highlight our Black and Brown businesses, as well as we uplift our community leaders and people in the community that are doing phenomenal things to impact our community. Very amazing stuff, like my brother Terrence here, my brother Eric, brother AJ, and Simone. That's what that segment is about every Tuesday, to just uplift our people. We have a platform here for you to come on. If you're a small business, doesn't matter how big you are. If you're a sole proprietor, are you a 500 Fortune CEO company, we want to help get your information out to community, so that community can support your business and what you're doing. And also we want to highlight these community leaders that are doing things to impact our community, so that community know where you are. And if they need to volunteer and want to get involved, they can definitely get involved. And then next Thursday, we're going to have another educational Thursday presentation where we're going to continue to bring people on to bless our community. We have a phenomenal sister that's going to come on to re-educate and let community know about her program, her nonprofit, what she's doing to impact the community. So we're looking for that educational Thursday. And then next Sunday, we're going to have a phenomenal conversation with my guy, the wizard, Jack Jackwa. And we're trying to finalize it, but that's the plan. And we're going to have some brothers in the community come on and talk with him about some of the other things that we need to do as community, as things are changing rapidly. How do we all get involved, stay connected, and just have some real talk with the wizard? So with that being said, just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank all our panelists that came. You know, a lot of them came last minute because we had a change. We want to just also acknowledge that this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Please take care of yourself out there. This month, we're going to continue to let community know it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and please be mindful of that. Also, this is AAPI month, so we want to give a big shout out to our Asian Pacific Islander community and let them know that we support them, and we want to give them that shout out and recognition as well. And hopefully, before the end of the month, we'll be able to connect with some of those. We've had some people, but they had to change up their schedule due to some of the things that that they have going on for this month as well. And we're just going to continue to keep pushing through. Like I said, June 6th, we are looking for panelists. So if you are a person out there that want to talk about community violence and how violence are impacting our community, please go to our website at Both Sides of the Conversation. Log on as a panelist. We need to have this community. Again, we had a violent weekend this weekend here in the Bay Area. A lot of shootings. We lost some people. And, this violence thing is happening all across this country. But I think it's time that we just got to really have a real conversation about this violence that's happening in our community, how it impacts our young people, how it impacts us as a community. So we're looking for panelists. We have a Father Day conversation coming up on June 13th. So all you great fathers like Walter, please sign up because we really want to talk about fatherhood. What does that look like? Even if you came back home or you've been out of the picture, we really want to engage with the community and talk about fathers and celebrate our fathers on June 13th. The original show was set for the actual Father's Day, but we got a lot of response from people and they didn't want to do it on Father's Day because of the activities and things that they have going on, and we want to be respectful of that. So we're going to have the Father's Day conversation. We switched it around to June 13th, the week before Father's Day, but I think it's very important for us to highlight our fathers in the community that are doing phenomenal things, because there are a lot of fathers that are involved in their kids' life and are doing some amazing things to impact not only their children, but the community. So phenomenal conversation. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end. Thank everybody for tuning in today. Do your part as you go into the next week to be a volunteer, look for volunteer to give back and just see the rewards of that. And then to all of our athletes out there, we're going to continue to fight for unionizing our college athletes. And if you are one of those institutions that have the power to make change, please be that change. And shout out to the UC system. Once again, I just have to get that out there for dropping the SATs and the ACT testing to let more of our young people get into college and break that barrier. So shout out to the UC system, the UC president for making that change. And hopefully more of our institution will get behind that so that our young people can have everything they need to get into college. So see you guys on Tuesday for our Hidden Gem segment. Have a blessed evening, everybody.